It's time for Remodel Revolution. And now, an award-winning contractor with over 40 years experience. Here is Alex Guthrie.
Welcome to another episode of Remodel Revolution. I'm your host, Alex Guthrie, coming to you from our temporary world headquarters here at Remodel Revolution, but still from deep in the heart of the great state of Texas. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're dealing with this pandemic well. It's getting kind of crazy out there, but I think we'll all get through it just fine very soon. I'm very confident. Hey, I've been working on some interviews from all around the country. I've got great information. I have fantastic guests, and let's just get on with it right now and get started with this show. Well, we're here with my very good friend, Caroline Blazovsky, and she is the healthy home expert. And I called her and I said, please, 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 I beg you, come talk to me and my listeners, and let's talk about how to make your home healthy with COVID-19 and really kind of everything. Because, you know, now they're saying, Carolyn, that when you are going to the grocery store and you come back, it's on your clothes and it kind of gets in the air, and you are a expert in actually air purification in the home.
That's right. And we actually, our company has the ability to test for COVID on surfaces. So I think it's important for people just to really understand what's going on, Alex. Like, I think they think this is like a little Pac-Man and it's chasing you all around, and that's not what it is at all. It's basically a particulate. It's some RNA genetic material surrounded by a protein and a lipid, and it gets everywhere when you sneeze or cough. And you really have to sneeze or cough to transmit it.
And it lives. The problem is it lives on surfaces and it lives on whatever it lands on, right?
Well, it's not really even living. It's kind of not even a living thing. It's just more like, imagine particulate that gets out. Just like in mold remediation or mycotoxin. What's kind of interesting about my career is that all of those years of dealing with these invisible things that we can't see, it's prepared us to deal with this stuff. So it's less scary, I guess. But it gets on surfaces, and then you have to touch the surface and then touch your nose and touch your eyes or your mouth. And that's how this thing, gets in.
And every time they tell me not to do that, my eyes start itching.
And then you go like this.
Yeah, it's not even fair to ask people not to scratch their nose. It's kind of like when you're in the dentist chair, and all of a sudden your nose is itching.
Itchy, or you want to talk.
So you have a program, you have a slide presentation, and we were going to talk about that to kind of give us some tips on things, some ways to protect ourselves in our homes.
So let's share a screen here, which I think will help us a little bit. So this is really interesting. I kind of put this together to help people to know what to do in their homes, because our homes have kind of been pushed into the forefront of being the place where we're fighting COVID. I mean, if you're not at the hospital, you're at home, and those are the two places that are really going to be affected. So the big thing I want to talk about, and you and I have talked about this before, is rolling. You definitely don't want it dry. And so you want to maintain between 30 and 50%. Now, with the virus infiltrating our environments, it does a lot, or it's affected more by higher humidity, but you don't want to go too high. So the highest you want to go is like 65%. So if you can go out or, order online and get a little hygrometer, a little RH monitor, don't spend a lot, right? Put it in your environment and try to stay closer to the 65% range with the virus. That's going to help a lot to help.
And this helps the virus not survive?
Correct. It can't proliferate, but also travel. So like when it's dry and you've got everything dried out, it can fly through the air so much more effectively than when it's humid. So the humidity slows it down, they think. And so the higher the humidity is important, but you don't want to go too high, because then you start to get mold and stuff like that. So that's my range in there, 30 to 50%. If you can go up to 65 with the virus, then I'm allowing you to do that currently. The other thing too, as we talked about this briefly, is the shoe aspect. And so you have to have outside shoes that strictly stay outside. The studies currently are showing that a lot of this transmission is happening on the bottoms of feet of the medical professionals. So when they tested inside in China, they actually tested the hospital. The virus was ending up in the pharmacies and places where the patients were. And the reason it was ending up there is because the medical professionals were transmitting it on their feet.
Wow.
So that just shows you when you sneeze, this goes 6 meters. So it goes on the floor. And most of us, you know, when you do sneeze, you kind of bend down, at least I do. So then it gets on the floor and you track it on your shoes. So
that's fascinating, actually.
So outside shoes only. Don't wear your shoes if you go to the grocery store, if you go out to, you know, whatever you're going to run an errand or something. Don't wear those shoes back in the house. Keep outside shoes outside and inside shoes inside.
Very interesting. And then toilet lids, keep them shut.
That's it. Down. And I always give a shout out to Toto because Toto makes this crazy good toilet, which is, you've probably seen this because you are in the building industry, but the toilet that like shuts on its own. And
Yeah,
you can,
yeah.
Hook up to music. It's crazy.
Yeah. Looks like it's going to eat you when you're walking towards it.
Oh my God, but it's amazing. But that's what we need when that bowl, you know, when the bowl starts to do its thing, it launches fecal matter up into the air. So that's why you always don't want to keep your toothbrush by the toilet.
Right, right.
So now we know that this virus is in feces, which I don't like to mention while we're talking, but it's there. And so I don't think they really know that much about the transmission, but it is important to keep the toilet down now.
And then, of course, it also makes sense then after you've used the bathroom to thoroughly wash your hands, which most people do anyway, but just don't forget if you're in a hurry.
And use the alphabet. So when you're washing, I mean, my trick is, you know, count the alphabet, A, B, C, D, F, G, and soap and water. The surfactant is always important because it helps to break. And you might know this, like if you've ever put a drop of water on a slide, you know how the water kind of sits in the ball and doesn't move. Well, when you have a virus and then you have a ball of water next to it, they butt up against each other. It's called surface tension. So it sits up against it and it won't permeate into the virus. So what that surfactant does is breaks down the wall. It allows things to enter into the virus to kill them, whether it's sanitizer or whatnot. So it breaks that surface tension. So that's the big reason we use soap and water to help, you know, get rid of it.
I never knew why. I just knew I had to, or I would get in big trouble.
Yeah, it has to do with this. Has to do with that surface tension. I've learned this crazy stuff, but that helps propel, I think, to kill the virus and make it less viable. So,
hydrogen peroxide is you know an interesting. It's an interesting chemical because, of course, we always, when we were kids, we just put it on our little cuts and it fizzed up and it was kind of cool. It didn't really hurt that bad.
Yeah, it's good. We like that. It also. What I like about it is now you can't use it on porous surfaces or surfaces where it's going to take out color like wood and things like that. But for sinks and bathrooms and toilets, it's wonderful. And you can leave it. It doesn't leave any chemical residue behind, which I like from a chemical standpoint. And you can add a little surfactant to it in the bottle, and that will also help deter and kill the virus as well. That, again, that's helping to break all the surface tension and help everything to get into the actual virus itself. So yeah, hydrogen peroxide is great. We've been using it in mold remediation with biologics for years, and it's safe for your family.
And then UV technology. Now, is that the same thing as just going out in the sun?
No, actually, it's a good question. A lot of people think that UVB and UVA are what works to kill a virus. And I think in some capacities they do. When you open your windows and you allow light in, just natural light will actually kill like 50% of the bacteria that's in the space. But UVC is an actual technology that works against viruses in particular and bacteria. If you look at the picture up in the left-hand column, and you see on the slide the phone going into that device, that's called phonesoap.com makes these devices, which are UVC technologies that are fantastic. I've got 3 of them in the home, and I've also got a bigger one that's you can put your laptop in, the remote controls for the TV, all this great stuff. And that fits in, and then it shuts, and it UV lights your phone and allows to kill, like it kills all the bacteria and virus. It's fantastic.
That thing's awesome because I honestly, I worry about my phone and all these things that you really don't think about at all because you're just so used to using them all day.
Exactly. And your keys and your credit cards, anything you use. I purchased this back for Christmas for gifts for people. And it was not in anything having to do with COVID-19. It just happened. And I found that everybody that I gave one to did not get sick for the winter. I mean, not even a cold. And I have to say, I think I attribute it to these devices.
Very interesting.
They're great. So that's phonesoap.com or any UVC application. There's wands you can use now to kind of go over surfaces that, you know, maybe you can't clean. The remote control's good, the doorknobs, phones, anything you're kind of, you know, going outside and inside. So check out UVC Technologies. And then we can talk about water, turning up the water temperature on your water heater. If you could tell people about where they can turn it up on their water heater, that's great, because we need to be over 140.
Yeah, of course, on your water heater, there's a little control valve on it. Now, this is funny. Our water heater is in a closet in the house, and all of a sudden, I wasn't getting hot water. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. I could tell that the water was only getting warm from the pilot. And I thought, okay, the water heater's about to go out. Well, it ends up that we had put something in the closet, and we had hit that little knob and turned it down. And the way I found out is really funny. I paid the plumber to tell me that. So I called the plumber and said, come fix my hot water heater. And he goes, Alex, you idiot. Anyway, there's a little knob on that hot water heater, and that's how you can adjust it. And you just have to be very careful that you don't make it too hot, because it will scald you.
And if you have kids, you know, but
absolutely.
I learned this. I just did a webinar the other day, and the utility companies actually have cards or a device that you can measure your water temperature. I guess it's a free thing from your utility company.
Yes.
So check that out. And those would be great to just be able to monitor. We want to be over 140. Definitely laundry has to be up over that temperature, because now we have a lot of these plastic components in the washing machines, and the bins are plastic. And so if you're not getting hot enough, that virus can actually make it and survive on that plastic. So you want to make sure.
And of course, on the newer valves in bathrooms, they have a temperature control setting.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, so it can only get to a maximum temperature. And that's
You're saying the safety valve.
Yes. And that's, of course, for kids and older people. So.
But the thing is, when it comes to killing bacteria and virus and molds and proteins, we need the hotter water temperature. So energy efficiency is not doing us the greatest justice with that application. So can you bypass it if you turn it up through the water heater? You can, right? If you turn the water heater up.
Yeah. And you can reset it. You don't really have to buy it. You just set it whatever you want it to be, but it's there for your safety. Opening windows and ventilating is my favorite thing, because I'm a fresh air fanatic. You know, I can't sleep at night. Even in the wintertime, I open a window a little bit and get under the electric blanket. And of course, I have to make sure my wife is asleep first. That's interesting to me that's on your list.
Yeah. And it's important because fresh air always helps, and high humidity helps, and light helps. We know all these things make a difference. You know, we're not necessarily sure how it's going to play out with the virus, but we definitely know they're good for all types of things. And even when they did studies with Spanish flu, which was the original epidemic, you know, the closest epidemic that we have in time to what we are experiencing now, the patients actually did better who were outside and being treated with fresh air and ventilation. So to me, that's a huge thing. So, you know, get as much fresh air exposure as you can. And vitamin D is good.
Absolutely. Fresh air is always good. Now, the interesting thing is that in the late 90s, they started encouraging us to build homes that virtually were totally non-vented. I mean, they would only I toured houses in New Mexico in the desert. It was a really neat development, but the idea was to have a 100% energy efficient house. And so this builder built these houses where the only windows that opened were the egress windows in the bedrooms. That was it in the whole house. And so you're completely dependent on the air circulation system in the house to filter your air. And that the only problem I have with that is sometimes these little filters, they break down and you don't know it. You know, they're not working until you start getting sick or something happens. You're like, oh, wow, our filtration system isn't working.
Oh, and we can look at, another slide. When I did this webinar that we just talked about, my argument with energy efficiency and things like that is that these natural things that we need for, here's a perfect example, to kill bacteria, viruses,
Right.
natural light, ventilation, too much humidity, causing mold growth and things of that nature. A lot of this is stemming out of the fact that we've gone to energy efficiency. And it doesn't mean that controlling our greenhouse gas emission isn't important. That's not what I'm saying, but you can't take away our lifelines for health in general. So I think we have to revisit that. And I can show you it. I have a slide up, we don't have to look at it right now, but there's a slide that basically shows that in Los Angeles, they were doing a green build, right? You have to get a green building permit to build in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And when they did it, they had to put in custom dormers because they were getting so much moisture coming from the recessed lighting. And that's in Los Angeles where the humidity really doesn't get that high, but the changes in temperature were causing the light fixtures to sweat and condensate. So they had to go to putting dormers in, custom dormers in.
Well, and of course,
spaces.
down here where I am, and you're in New Jersey, I'm in Dallas, and in Dallas, we're in a kind of an odd little zone. We're right on the border of arid or semi-arid and humid. And so we're mostly humid. And what we figured out in the 90s, really 80s and 90s, it started showing its face, was that when we took forced air conditioning and we stuck it in a house, then we didn't regulate it. We just started blowing cold, wet air into a house, and some of them were plaster walls, and nobody had any idea what they were doing. They just stick it in there, make people not sweat, because down here, that's our problem.
Right.
And yes, the air quality, all of a sudden, we're building more efficient houses. We're still not adjusting the filtration. And all of a sudden, we've got a major problem with mold and contaminants in the house that can't get out. Even, of course, the things that we use to build furniture, the chemicals in the furniture, the chemicals in the carpet. All of a sudden, we're like, oh, my gosh, we got a problem here. And of course, that's where you come in.
And, I think how we build and the climate that we build in, and now the climate, nature's throwing us some big whammies. And so in the Northeast, we actually should be building more like they do in the Northwest. We need the bigger overhangs because we're getting so many, the rain, the water, the storms, the intensity of the storms. So we need bigger overhangs to protect the building envelope. We need bigger gutters. And they went in the 80s and 90s in the Northeast to no, flat building, no gutter, no protection at all. So it's just become, a real interesting issue. But I definitely think we need to be building for climate, not necessarily. And
well, you know what? All we have to do is look at how our ancestors built, because it's precisely how they built. They didn't have air conditioning, and they built to the climate. It's all they knew how to do. And
I took an 1800s house. I think you'll find this fascinating. I just took like a square room. So I did like a 10 by a 10. And then I wanted to see how much percentage they used in that for lighting and ventilation. I used the windows as my sort of, consider the windows as the vent. And so we went from 24% in, say, a 10 by 10 room in the 1800s, even 1950s, up to 1950s. Then all of a sudden the 60s and the 70s came and we went to 8%.
Right.
So that just shows you the big decline. And that's huge. That's almost, that's a really big problem. So especially when our bodies are used to, and the climate, we need that ventilation.
Yeah. I ran into that for years in remodeling because we were introducing forced air into houses that were built in the 20s and 30s or turn of the century. And when the walls may not have insulation in them.
That's right.
No insulation in the floors, very minimal, if any, in the attics. But they were breathing really well. I mean, they were operating fine. They didn't rot. They didn't have mold. They didn't have problems. No. And then we realized that it was all that fresh air and breathing that was keeping the house and the occupants healthy.
That's
and we took it away. Let's just take that away. We don't need that. Who cares?
It's crazy. And I don't get it. Like, I mean, I understand. I think it's an economic thing. I think everybody wants to make money. So they've got, you know, if you're just using wood and plaster and lathe, it's more about the labor that's going to cost more to create it versus the product. And I think people want to be involved and make money. And I don't begrudge anybody that, but when it comes to building, we really need some kind of governing system because these homes are just so toxic on so many levels.
And it's evolving. Of course, our building codes have changed dramatically to make things more energy efficient. And now we're having to, by making it more efficient, we just create a whole nother environmental issue inside the house. And so that's where, you know, people like you come in, and you're you actually do investigations in houses, don't you?
Correct. Yes.
And so you have let's talk about some of your systems that you use.
Mm-hmm. And so the other thing, I kind of want to see if I have a slide up here to kind of show you, because I think we've got a really good one that'll kind of help us. So just bear with me 1 second. Let me share my screen with you. See if this will help us a little bit. These are some, you want to do technologies that we kind of utilize. So,
sure.
So I think this is a good one.
Oh yeah.
So if you can see this, these are some of the technologies that we're finding that, you know, help create a healthy home. And I think there's 3 things, right? It's not just technology. We have to build property. That's, in my opinion, it's more of a passive system, right? Whether you're doing passive solar, but you want the house to work with you and to work with all the ventilation issues and the sunlight issues and all of those things. But then you want to use technology in those areas where you can't, you know, where we have to manipulate things, or maybe we can't build the way we want to, then we have technology. And then the third thing we have is education to make sure people understand, you know, you don't want to be bringing toxic things into the home. Once the home, and you and I, we've had this discussion on your show before, once the house is built, you don't want to make it toxic with everything that comes into it.
The furniture.
Exactly. Furniture. I mean, it could be your kitchen products you pick, your cabinetry. I mean, all of it. I mean, you know, sometimes a builder gets done and they'll say, okay, we're going to do the kitchen. You're in charge of the cabinets, and people bring in all kinds of fiberboard and engineered flooring. And
formaldehyde was a huge problem for a long time when we had to go, and then we had to change plywood and all kinds of products that we never knew they have formaldehyde in them. I didn't know.
And they still do. I mean, most products that are built in the United States, formaldehyde's used like candy. And so it's in everything. And when I test homes, I compare it to a European standard, and we run, you know, double, sometimes triple what the Europeans run for formaldehyde, just because of the way we build in this country. So it's important to recognize. And formaldehyde, for people who don't know, it is a carcinogen. But it also is naturally occurring. So when you build a home in general, it's in wood naturally. So you're going to have an elevation. You just don't want to add to that elevation when you're doing construction.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
So it's a natural thing. It's not that you can really avoid it altogether when you build, but you need to monitor it closely. These are like different projects. These are actually real projects that we've worked on. And I like to show people because it's, you know, interesting for people to see, but these are dehumidification systems, basements that we've done. So you can tell from that basement on the left-hand corner with the sump pit, I'm real particular about how my basement's going to look if you, you know, if you do one. And this house up in the left, we did a whole dehumidification system in like a bunker area. They had a bunker actually under the ground, which was kind of cool. And we had to put a whole dehumidification. And these are also can be ventilation systems that go in. They have dual purpose. So if you get one that has a vent. Yeah. So
we have and it's interesting because where you are up in the Northeast, then you have basements. Of course, down here we don't.
Attics are your
we're getting
problem.
A few more of them, but we have attics. But so what we started doing is completely sealing the envelope of the house with foam and making them super, super tight, super efficient. And we are having to spend a lot more time like you do. It's the same thing, only different. That's what I've always told my homeowners when they're asking me why I did something different. I go, it's the same thing, it's just a little different.
Just a little bit.
And but it's for the same reason. It's to control the humidity. So we might put a dehumidifier in. We might actually add humidity in some homes because our AC systems have become a lot more proficient, a lot more efficient, and they do a lot of that air modification also in the system. So it's a science, and
It is.
it's a balancing act, like you say.
Oh, absolutely. And in the attics too, that becomes tricky for you guys because I've seen when you seal that attic up so tight, then you really have to control that humidity in that space. So you have to use something mechanical. If you're going to make that built part of your building envelope, which is what we do with the basement, similar, same thing. And I've done homes with attics. If that all becomes one space, then you have to condition it. If you're going to tighten it up, you've got to watch the RH in that space.
Absolutely.
And around your ductwork. And, you know, in your neck of the woods, people have to service their air conditioners because they're running so much more frequently than the Northeast. You have to service regularly, like at least twice a year. You've got to have the drip pan cleaned out, your coil cleaned, and your filters, and you know, everything. Yeah,
and of course that's what we recommend is twice a year, having somebody come out and check it. And again, because we're using now, I'm like you. I love passive. I like everything passive. I want my ventilation passive, everything. But that's just not going to work in some houses.
That's right.
One of the problems with having a mechanical system, a mechanical filtration system, or somehow you're depending on that in combination maybe with a dehumidifier, whatever it is, then, sorry, my timer went off. Okay, time's up. Dismiss. Sorry. When you have all that stuff going, you don't necessarily know if it's not working. And the only way you're going to know is by having that system serviced.
That's right.
That was that whole 5 minutes.
Well, and also I think a lot of these companies can monitor if they put, I like to see the sensor systems. I don't find they're so accurate when they're depicting like what kind of chemicals are coming in, Alex, but I find that they could be accurate in telling us about humidity and servicing. So I think these big box makers have to kind of look at what they're doing with sensoring and then make it more applicable to really real life situations. And because they're important, the sensors, but I don't know if we're censoring the right thing.
Let's talk real quick. And we've got about a minute or two, a couple minutes. Let's talk about your air testing system that you've got, because I love them.
Yeah. So hold on. Should we go to a slide again? Because it's easy when we look at our slides, if we can. So this is the.
There it is.
Yeah. And I have it here behind me too, but it's easier to see it. That's the pump system, and anyone can order this. You go to examinair.com. I think now it's so great because you can't have an inspector come out and check your air quality and check things. So this, you can just do it yourself. It's got 3 samples that you take inside the home, 1 outside. So you get a baseline, you get everything included. We're going to look at your particulate levels, which we know contribute to disease. We're going to look at your mold counts, your dust, your dander counts. So all of that is in there. And what I like is that when you are trapped in your home with any kind of, virus that could potentially be affecting you, you don't want to be exposed to mold too. I definitely think we'll find that, people who live in moldy houses, their immune system's suppressed from mold. So that doesn't help when you have to fight a virus. So this is a great time to just, do a kit, and you can order it yourself and do it around your house, and you'll have the results within a couple days.
Well, more and more people are ultra sensitive to air quality. I have clients that are just, really petrified of us coming in their house. I don't blame them. And stirring up the dust and they've got their whole families, the kids, everybody is super, super sensitive to these allergens. Yeah. And this seems to me to be the perfect solution to at least knowing what's in there to help
Exactly. And then you don't have to stir up everything. And then if you have a problem, then, you may have to stir it up to address it, but at least you could leave the house or, not be around. I worked really hard. This was something that I developed after going out and seeing houses and being involved with houses for a long time. And we're doing another one too. It's going to be the Examinair 2, and that's going to be formaldehyde and a VOC.
Wow. So, wow. That one will be busy.
Yeah. They're both, it makes it easier for a builder too. You don't have to, you can do this and when you're on a job, or maybe you want to make sure you don't have a problem after the build or
that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for coming and spending the day with me. You're so awesome. You're an amazing lady.
I adore you. So.
And you're brilliant, and I adore you too, incidentally. This is the only way we can hug anymore.
Communicate.
You know?
It's so nice though, like to see people. I'm like, oh my God, I get to see Alex. At least we
thank
have some
you.
like interaction.
You're so wonderful. And it's myhealthyhome.com.
Myhealthyhomeexpert.com.
Oh, Healthy Home Expert. Oh, it's right over your head. Healthy Home Expert.
Oh yeah, there.
I see it now.
Actually, if you type in My Healthy Home, you'll get us. I mean,
yeah.
myhealthyhome.info, you can find us. We come up. So either one of those two.
Caroline Blazovsky. I said it right.
Alex Guthrie.
You're so amazing. Thank you so much. And we're going to do this again.
Yep. Anytime.
But not soon enough.
Stay safe and healthy.
The hardest working and arguably most important system in our homes is our air conditioning and heating system. It heats the air, it cools the air, and it filters the air. That's why it's so critical to have it checked and maintained by the very best professionals available. It's time to contact Total Air and Heat at totalair.com. Get that system pruned and tuned. If you want to have the very best experience, you've got to hire the very best company. Total Air's employees are honest, well-trained, and thoroughly background checked. I never have to worry about sending their technicians out to my clients' homes. Family owned and operated for 3 generations, Total Air and Heat has been a fixture in North Dallas for over 60 years. Total Air is a proud dealer of the Trane air conditioning systems, and you know how hard it is to stop a Trane, so give them a call at 972-881-0020. That's 972-881-0020, or contact them at totalair.com. Our next segment, we're going to visit with Kevin Key of Key Residential in Dallas. Kevin is a remodeler. He's been around quite a while, and I wanted to talk to some local people about, or remodelers, about how COVID-19 and the regulations and all the stuff that we're having to deal with is affecting their business and their clients. Let's go talk to Kevin. I'm here with Kevin Key, Key Residential in Dallas. Kevin is a remodeling contractor. He's kind of like me. He's not a huge company. He does a lot of really high quality work. And I wanted to talk to Kevin and talk about how he's dealing with his clients during this COVID-19. And also the city has been really kind of having problems processing permits, and I'm not sure about inspections as I haven't called for any, but I know that just yesterday they came out with a whole new set of rules on permits and how many they're going to release and how they're going to do it. So it's obviously been a problem for the city as well, dealing with all of this. And of course, I haven't had to go for a permit, Kevin, because when this all started, all of my clients said, you know, we're just not going to do anything for a while. How is your client base dealing with this, or have you had to deal with it yet?
Well, much like you, the ones that we had that we were working on in terms of trying to get bids or beginning to talk about jobs, if the homeowners will be living in the home, those were all postponed. Mm-hmm. The projects that have continued were where the homeowners were out of the home already.
Yeah.
And so we didn't, we've really kind of avoided any homeowners. However, in the last 2 weeks or last week or so, I have had 3 appointments with potential new clients. So I think people are kind of ready to get moving again.
It almost seems like there's a lot of confidence that things are going to go back to normal is kind of the feeling I'm getting. And I sure hope it stays that way, because
I would agree.
We all need a good strong push to get us going again, to get us back up on our feet. It's been pretty harrowing for most of us real small business owners. None of us are prepared for a long stay at no business. I mean, it's just, we depend on that cash flow weekly, really, most of us. Yeah. So how are your subs dealing with this? Are you having to do protocols or any contagion protocols, as I call them, to have them in houses, even unoccupied or even on outside stuff? Is any of that creating a challenge for you?
Well, the biggest challenge is trying to get the appropriate items necessary for the protocol. Of course, the Dallas Builders Association has been really leading in a big help, I think, even with the city of Dallas for us, with their guidelines that they've printed and that they've sent out to us. And with what I did is I copied those and emailed all of that stuff to my trade partners, and who many are not, they're small and not members of the DBA, but I just kept them as informed as I was, and they have all bought in. So, on my job, I have hand soap and a station there. I have 2 or 3 locations of hand sanitizer, and then we have a thermometer that's on the job. And, whether it's the painters or the wood floor guys or the tile guys, they come in the morning, check their temperature first thing, and we monitor that. And, everybody wants to continue to work. So that I would say that they have fully bought in and understood early on that this was serious. Let's take it seriously and be smart about things. And so, yes, we watch the 10 people on the job, try to stay as far apart as we can and things like that.
So you have to just like throw things at each other.
Yes, yeah. Catch this saw.
It's not just verbal assaults anymore. Catch this sawzall, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I just basically was at a transition where I had finished up a couple of projects, or was finishing a couple of projects, and like you, one of them, the homeowner didn't live in the house. Actually lived out of the country, so that we were safe there. And another one was an outside project, and during the course of all this, of course, we finished them both, and we just haven't taken any more work on. And I have met with a couple of people, but I decided that I just didn't really want the risk of exposing somebody or being held accountable if somebody got exposed and I happened to be in their house. And one of them was a young couple, and she's pregnant. And I said, "You're crazy. I'm not coming anywhere near you."
Yeah.
As much as I like you, no thanks.
Well, the meetings that we've had this week, one of them is for a September start, and one of them is, for a midsummer start. So the optimism is still elongated, so to speak. And the projects that we have beginning, both of them are outside work, outdoor livings and things like that. So those are the things that we're kind of trying to move forward with, or our outdoor
And
stuff.
those are doable projects during all this. I mean, there's not, at least we don't have to feel as cautious when we're outside. Or I mean, that's my instinctual thing. I don't know if that's what the scientists are saying or not, but anyway, well, I really appreciate you taking time out for us this morning and sharing that. And how give us real quick before we leave, how do you feel about down the road? What are your instincts? You've been in business a long time, so you've got gut instincts, as I do, and most small business people, about how you feel the energy right now in the business part of this.
Well, again, you were, I think, correct in terms of my business is similar to yours. We really operate in a pretty small niche of people, with who our clients are. And so I think that if the economy rebounds in some state, most of the people we work for have the money and are ready, and they will remodel when they're ready.
Right.
And they're not going to borrow money and stuff like that. And so I think my optimism is that those projects will still be there. Coming in 2010 and 11, the work was still there, but it just took 6 or so. It just took longer to get the project started, it seems like. And I anticipate maybe that where people are just still, hey, we want to move forward, but we're still going to watch the economy a little bit as we move forward.
And as they start feeling better or seeing better signs or things are happening more, I think you're right. I think that there just seems to be a whole lot of positive energy coming out of this one. But of course, the last one was totally different for different reasons. And it seemed like about a 5-year recovery. I think this one will be a lot quicker, I hope. I'm optimistic.
Yes, I am too. And I think, and the people that we've spoken with, like I said, the meetings that we've had, the calls that we've had, is all indication is that as soon as they let us back in, we're ready to go.
Yeah, right.
That's
Yeah.
the feeling I'm getting. So.
Well, you know, part of the challenge that we're all going to have, excuse me, is that some of our suppliers have furloughed. Well, all of them actually have furloughed a bunch of people, even my subs, like my plumber. I talked to them the other day, and he said they haven't worked in the office in 4 weeks. He said, we're all working from our trucks. And so they went to emergency calls only.
Yes.
And so, I mean, there's just been this sort of wholesale business change of how you do business with these companies. And so you can't just pick it back up and ramp back up overnight. It just isn't going to happen. You've completely changed how you're doing things. And now you have to kind of work back into whatever's going to be next. We really don't know exactly how we're all going to have to operate, or how long this is going to linger. But it's going to be interesting to watch. And I'm hopeful for all of us, small guys in particular, that we are blessed with a rapid comeback, because we're all going to be really needing it in the fall for sure. Well, we all really need it now, but a couple more months of this and it's going to be crushing. So anyway, thank you, Kevin Key. And how do people get in touch with you?
Well, we can be reached our office number, of course, or our website's keyresidential.net. And so you can always go there and get our contact information, and that'd be the easiest way to go. And so
fantastic. Kevin Key with Key Residential, thank you so much for being with us. And I look forward to talking to you again when things are, we're talking about something different, like how to do something.
There you go. Exactly. It sounds great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, buddy. Sometimes it's a question of, do I call or don't I call the foundation repair company? Well, what if I tell you that I know a foundation repair company that will tell you if you don't need foundation repair? That's right. Hargrave & Hargrave Foundation Repair has been in business for over 50 years, and they know the difference. One of the last family-owned foundation repair businesses in North Texas. Not only are they honest, they know what causes your foundation to move, and they know how to fix it. Don't be duped by fly-by-night foundation companies that provide shortcuts and messy fixes. Call Hargrave & Hargrave Foundation Repair at 972-442-3415 at the first sign of trouble. Hargrave uses the Chance helical pier system exclusively because it's the highest quality, most reliable helical pier money can buy. 972-442-3415 or contact them at hargravefoundation.com.
The views and opinions of this program are for educational and entertainment purposes only and are not intended to replace the recommendations of a hired professional. You can catch Remodel Revolution anytime. Follow the show on the website, remodelrevolutionradio.com, or on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, using the handle at Remodel Revolution Radio. You can always listen to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and TuneIn, and watch the show anytime on YouTube.